And then I'll just share the recording with Kyle after the meeting or when he's back. I wish I had had more time to put something a little more high-level summary together, but I didn't. So we're just going to walk through this, even though it's visually overwhelming. Walk through it slowly, and it should give you an idea of how things are going to work going forward. We'll give Vlad another minute or two, and then okay, there he is.
Yep.
Okay. So, ready to go then?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so what we did was most of our focus for this project was on sign-up flow and then ongoing renewal. In scope, we didn't put anything in scope in terms of how we're handling cases or a lot of what's happening on the support side, just because that hasn't been as urgent of an issue and it seems like it's working okay. So as I get started, do your best. Can everyone see the screen or do I need to zoom in more?
Share.
I need to share the screen, yeah.
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 Step one.
That's one of my...
It's the cocktail thing.
Yeah. Okay, can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we're just going to go through this flow chart. Look, the key to all of this is we're trying to kind of track the customer through a life cycle. So as you can see, we start over here on the left. One of three things is typically going to happen. They're going to request a free trial. They're going to complete a demo form, and they're going to complete a lead form. There are some other kind of use cases where we generate the leads ourselves, but that they kind of fall into this that we'll see along the way. So what we've done is we've started with whenever you request a trial or do a lead form, it's going to create a contact in HubSpot, which is the equivalent of a lead in Salesforce. Now, this is one of the biggest changes that we've made. In the past, anytime a trial was created, it created an account automatically in Salesforce and created an opportunity automatically in Salesforce, but didn't necessarily create a lead. What we wanted to do was that all incoming demand created a lead so that we had one basis for tracking all of our activity. Everything starts as a lead, and then what happens from there determines whether it will get created into, it'll get turned into an account or and an opportunity.
Yeah.
So all you're seeing here with these three buckets, obviously the trial does create an account in Humanity, creates contact. All we're saying is, and then a sales generated lead, for example, that's like a new account that's coming out. Let's say we meet someone at Workday Rising and we want to generate a lead based on that contact. That would also come through and create a lead. So all entry points for a new customer generate a lead. Now what happens next is that lead will go through an assignment process, which I have on a different page here. It'll automatically be assigned to Quad 4, and then we'll scrape the website from the email domain and enrich it with company size with Clearbit. So then we're going to know how big the company is. If it was created by a rep, it'll automatically, regardless of what happens with Clearbit, get assigned to the rep who created the lead. If it wasn't created by a rep, then it'll go kind of into the assignment logic. It'll look at how big is the company, what is the industry, and assign it either to SMB or assign it to an enterprise SDR based on that information. This is probably not a huge impact to the people on the call now, but for the purposes of Kyle watching this later, it should be clear to him.
One quick question before we get past that sales generated lead point. One of the things that, well, let's just say this. If it's sales generated lead, at this point, we don't have a company ID created. When does that come into the sales generated lead portion? I don't see it on the workflow here, and I know that's like how we get into a lot of merging of things.
Right. Let's keep going down the list. Okay.
Okay.
So there's a lead assignment process. There's a duplicate check process, which we still need to outline. I don't have it mapped out, but this is going to go through. It's going to check and see, does an account already exist here? And then the company is going to start trying to qualify that lead. So these four ways of coming in as a lead,
Okay.
they all end with someone trying to qualify it. If it gets qualified, so qualification yes, then an account is created, a contact is created, and an opportunity is created. Now, if there isn't a Humanity account yet, so let's say this came in as a sales generated lead or a demo form, then they would run the account provisioning process. And what that's gonna do, the account provision process is something that Anas is working on, where we can set up their account. It'll send the name, instead of just sending an email for the customer to create an account, it will set up an account. It'll give an introductory email, or the login would be the email of the person you're provisioning it for, but it would give us, or the sales rep, the password to the account so that they could send it to the customer. So maybe it's like Humanity123 or something like that, versus what it is now, where the customer just gets an email address telling them to sign up for an account. What we want is the account's actually created, so we don't have any problem there, and we just let them know, hey, your password is this, go in and change it.
Okay.
Now, from there, most of the account work is done. So now we're going over to the opportunity, where we're going to start working the deal cycle. This is also what would happen if we had an expansion opportunity on an existing account. The entry point would be to create an opportunity, not to go back and create a lead and go through this whole assignment process. So that's more for like Megan and Kyle. If you're working an account and you think that there's a new opportunity on it, you put an opportunity on the existing account. So you create the opportunity. From there, as we're going to close this deal, you generate a quote. The quote is approved by the sales manager. That quote is sent to Zora. From there, Zora is going to create a billing account and create a subscription. This is when we would recognize MRR on the deal based on what the subscription dates are. And then the account would be closed won. Excuse me. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. And this is the biggest change that I think will affect Megan and everyone else. Not only Megan, Rob, Fawad, the whole crew. If it's closed won and the term is just a month, then it's just going to continue to be an evergreen opportunity. So it's not going to, it's that same opportunity will sit there and we'll just continue to bill against it each month. If the term is greater than 1 month, it's going to automatically create a renewal opportunity. So what will happen is you'll have the original opportunity on the account that sales has been working. That represents the first subscription. The renewal opportunity will be generated the minute that one is done closed won. And the renewal opportunity will have a close date of whenever the next renewal is.
Okay.
So Megan, that's what your guys would be working and logging against. So now your team will have opportunities to work against that represent all of their renewals.
I'm freaking out. It's like the best I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Now here's where, all right, good. I'm glad you're happy, because this is the part you might not like, but you might like it. I think it's actually the best way to do it. And it gives you more control over your renewals. If you see here, once the renewal opportunity is created, it just goes back into an endless loop. What has to happen now, because the original subscription was generated on the old first original opportunity, is that the customer success team would then go through the process of generating a renewal quote.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Yeah. So you're in complete control now. So you'll generate, now the renewal's up. We're coming to the close date on the renewal. However far in advance you want to do that, you generate a quote with all the parameters based on your conversation with them. That would probably skip sales manager approval. So this isn't exactly right. That would go to Zora. A new subscription would be updated on the account, but you have more control over it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's kind of like what we're doing now anyway, just with less systems and tools behind it, right?
Okay.
So I have a question because I don't think I've ever used like the generate quote. Like, is that an actual feature in Zora? And then my second question is that something that you can actually like PDF and send to the client, or is that literally just like an internal?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever used it because we don't have it yet. So we have to add that in, but that is functionality.
Yeah.
Within,
Exactly. It's a thing that we are able to do, but we don't do. And yes, answer to your other question is, it'll, as soon as you create a quote, that's basically generating your ability to print a PDF.
Yeah, because we've had customers that like come to us because they're planning their budgets, 6 months in advance, and they're not up for renewal for 3 months, but they want to know what that renewal invoice is going to look like. So if we had something that we could just send them like, hey, based on your current users and your potential price increase, this is what it looks like. And then they say that looks great. Then we basically approve it internally and consider that subscription updated.
Yep. Okay. That's exactly how it'll work. So that quote, that generating a quote is going to be useful for everyone because right now we have to just go build invoices.
Right.
The quote is more of like a non-binding thing, right? You generate the quote, send it to the customer. As soon as the customer's agreed on it, then you can go in and click a button that'll convert it to a subscription.
Perfect.
Now, everything that happens after that, we're kind of getting in the weeds, but I'm going to go through it anyway. This is more just like technical stuff on the back end. And some of this might have actually changed, but going forward, whether an account, there will no longer be a concept of account credits or number of days on an account. An account will be unlocked and open if there's a subscription, and if there's not a subscription, then it won't be. So as you can see, once it's closed won, it's going to update the paid until date based on what the subscription was, and that'll go back into Humanity. So what that means practically is that, let's walk through a couple of different scenarios. Right now we have a scenario where like a customer pays for a month, and then at the end of the month, their credit card gets declined, and it shows up as churn, and then Fawad has to go in and add credit days to make the account active again, and then that will take the churn back out. If that's like a monthly customer, that subscription would just auto-renew. And yes, it might auto-renew and the payment might fail, but that will have no impact on whether the customer can access the application or not, because they have an open subscription. They just have a failed payment. That's a collections issue, not a churn issue. Now, if we determine that we're never going to collect that payment, then we go in and we cancel the subscription, and that's when they churn out. So we should see a lot less variability in our churn number, where like just because a credit card payment failed, basically what we're saying is we're decoupling our churn from payments, and we're making sure that our churn is coupled with subscription. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Payments will now be a completely separate issue that are handled, independently of whether there's a subscription or not. Now, what this also means though is, let's say I can't think of an exact example of this, of when this has happened, but let's just say we just want to add days to an account because we want to give them credit or something like that. We will no longer be able to do that. There is no issuing credit. If you want to add more days to an account, then you would have to go in and do some kind of subscription amendment, meaning, hey, so they signed up for a deal before for 1 year. They need to have access for an extra 10 days because we got off to a slow start. You couldn't just go in and add 10 days to the account. You would have to go in and amend the subscription to be for a longer period, which would then show up in contraction.
Do you want to, if we're decoupling payments though, doesn't that decouple credits as well? Like you'd be placing a financial credit based on, like prorated days of whatever their MRR is. And it would apply to like, say like the next payment. And so it would just kind of sit there. I don't know, payments are different than payments are different than subscription. Credits are different than subscription as well.
Yes.
Then, no?
There's no such thing as a credit. There would be no such thing as a credit anymore.
Well, it would be a monetary value on the next renewal. It'd be like a discount on the next renewal.
Yeah,
Right?
if it's a discount on the next renewal, then that would be reflected in the next renewal subscription, I think.
Okay.
So then what you're saying is, hey, this next renewal is actually going to be for 40 days at this amount. And then you would get contraction for that. Now the amount would be spread over 40 days instead of 30 days or something.
Would you want to, though, I guess, wait, hold on. Maybe I'm saying this wrong. If let's say it is a 60-day renewal coming up next, we start an account or there's like an account issue and they get 10 days of credit. 10 days of credit is equal to 10-day value of MRR. You would put like a credit request in. That credit dollar value would sit in their account as...
No, you wouldn't be able to do a credit. What you would do in that scenario is, well, here's what I would do. We've got a 60-day renewal coming up. We need to add 10 more days to it for any given reason. You would have to go in and amend that subscription.
Okay.
To add 10 more days to it.
Okay. So you want to tie credits to subscription, not to like,
yeah,
you know, it's a $500 renewal, but you know, you get $100 value of 10 days or whatever, and that's only a $400 payment.
Yeah, you could do it that way as well. In that case, what you could do it one of either way. You could either extend the current subscription, which means, let's say it was $100 for 2 months, so $50 a month, and now you're going to make it 3 months, which would result in amending the subscription, which means the amount they paid us would be spread over more days, which means we would eat contraction. Or what you could do, the second alternative would say, hey, we're going to apply this to your next subscription. So your next subscription is going to be 60 days as well. But I'm only going to charge you $90 for that instead of the full 100. And then that would be, that's another way you could handle it as well if they prefer to do it that way. And the MRR would just be reflected. It would now be, instead of being 50 MRR, it would be 45 MRR.
Do you want to leave that up to, like, do you want a company policy saying here's our preference, one or the other, or do you just want to leave it up to whatever makes sense for the customer?
To me, I think it's whatever makes sense to the customer and whatever you guys decide in the moment. To me, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It probably has more to do with what the customer prefers.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense, Megan?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. For the most part, that's the meat of it. There's some other stuff that happens here with creating child accounts from group accounts. So if you create an account from a group account trial, it's going to look at, has this master account already been qualified? So say you have a group account that's a trial, you're creating new accounts under it. Has the master account already been qualified? If it has, then you create the child account. You assign whoever is on the group account CSR to that account. And that's pretty much it. If it hasn't already been qualified, you would convert the master lead to an account, create the master account, create the child account, and then assign the CSR to it. If we create accounts from a group account that is already subscribed, it depends on whether the group billing is on. If group billing is on, what did both of these say no?
Yeah, the upper one should be yes.
Yeah, okay. If group billing is on, it's fairly straightforward. You just assign a child account and you assign it to the CSR that already exists there. If group billing is off, you create a child account under the master account, and then you match that, the stage to close one. Wait, are we sure we got that right? Which one should be yes?
No, you're right. It's yeah, the other way.
Yeah, if group billing is off and you assign it to a CSR so they can work it, if group billing is on, then you just mark it as closed one. So that's pretty straightforward as well. This will help for Kyle especially, like if people are creating new accounts from an account that's already a closed one subscribed account, it's going to automatically mark those child accounts as closed one, which means that he's not going to get his pipeline filled up full of new opportunities that aren't actually opportunities. That's basically it. It's fairly straightforward, fairly simple. We're going to be working on this over the next quarter to get this rolled out. We'll be doing training that's going to go into Litmus on how to do all of this for your teams. That's one of Bashir's OKRs, to work with the business systems team. Yeah, and that's basically it.
Hey, Chris, can we agree to and layer in a couple other things on the marketing side, just for nomenclature? Because there's a lot of terms that are being used in here that mean different things for different groups, leads, etc., opportunities. One of the things that would be really valuable, because this is going to end up getting socialized to Vlad Bestich and Milan Markov as well, because they're touching a lot of these pieces. I think that there's and maybe we take this part offline because it doesn't necessarily impact everyone on this call, but working lead to MQL to SQL to opportunity is something that I'd love to layer in here, so that we're all we understand the stages, not only from a technological standpoint, but the marketing to sales funnel beyond just lead to opportunity.
Yeah, we could do that. It doesn't have any impact on, this is more outlining what our technical stuff is, and that's more process.
Okay.
So happy to spend any time needed to communicate that or map that out.
Okay. I'll add it to our 101. Great.
Yeah. Any other questions on this? I know it's probably just a lot to absorb, but you get if there are a few things to take away from this, I would say everything starts as a lead. Things get converted to opportunities whenever they're an SQL or a sales qualified lead. So opportunity equals sales qualified lead. So let me back up a second. We can go a little bit more in depth there based on what Charles just said. Everything comes in as a lead. As people work it and as that person does different actions, it can become either a PQL or an MQL. Once sales turns it into an opportunity, it's an SQL. And that's pretty straightforward on the sales part of it. The big thing to take away from the CSM and support/billing side of the world is every new renewal over a month will have its own opportunity that can be worked, and quotes can be generated and must be generated in order to create subscriptions. And that payments have been decoupled from the process, from any kind of interaction with how we manage our customer accounts. Payments will now be more of an accounting idea than account activation, churn, or subscription idea. I think that's it.
One thing that we haven't mentioned, it's a small thing as well, is how we sync contacts, like Humanity app contacts to Salesforce.
Oh yeah, do you want to go through that as well? That's important.
Yeah, I can. So what we agreed upon is we're going to sync contacts only for paid customers. The way contacts are synced now is essentially whenever you add a user in Humanity, it gets synced to Salesforce, and it gets synced only once. So if a user changes a phone number, changes their role in Humanity, changes an email, it doesn't get updated in Salesforce right now. So we're going to update contacts daily through that's not important for you how, but we're going to update them daily and sync them only for paid customers. That's the biggest new thing.
This will also impact support as well. Apparently, I think one of the major things with support cases is the case has to be attached to a contact. So Rob, we're gonna have contacts imported only when the customer becomes a paid customer. So a trial becomes a paid active account.
Yeah. Does that daily sync also delete? Because I know that's not something we do right now either, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we will delete them as well.
That's it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. If there's no more questions, we'll jump off.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.